Hey guys, what's up? Shane Hartline here, and you're watching CanYouBeFamous.com. It's easy to type, just do it. My name is Shane Hartline, and I'm an actor, comedian, filmmaker, and ladies' man. And yeah, I have, since I was a little kid, I've had an interest in, I guess, being goofy on camera is the best way I could put it. And that kind of morphed into many different things along the way. And right now, I'm actually living the dream, quote unquote. I'm a full-time actor and comedian, and I'm a YouTube, I guess, personality, I guess you could say. And, you know, just having fun, man. Just living. That's what I'm doing. That's me right now, in a nutshell. I grew up in a little town called Lake Wales, Florida. It's about 45 minutes south of Disney is the best way to put it. It's such a small town that nobody ever knows of it when I tell them, so I always tell them, 45 minutes south of Disney. I feel like I stood out like a sore thumb in that town because I was always, I don't know, shooting jackass tapes and just always putting myself out there in different ways in that little town. I would literally take my parents' video camera and set it on my TV in my bedroom and just film myself doing skits, you know, wrestling promos, just like I was just constantly every day acting on camera. Around the ages of 15, 16, I started training to be a professional wrestler, actually, which was it's always been one of my interests since I was a little kid. My dad was actually involved with professional wrestling, and I watched it ever since I was a little kid, and it was always something that I wanted to do. It was always an equal interest with, you know, being goofy on camera and doing comedy and acting. So when I got into wrestling, I knew I wanted to be different. I didn't want to just be the stereotypical musclehead wearing tights, you know. So I had like long, blonde, shaggy hair at the time, and everyone's like, well, you should be like a surfer character. So I became Rip Malibu, this goofy surfer that would like noogie wrestlers and surf on them. And I never needed to do anything like too crazy in the ring because I was, you know, I felt like if I entertained the crowd, that's enough, and that's all they're looking for. And I found success doing that. I definitely think, you know, being goofy in the ring and just being myself cranked up to 10 really helped me stand out amongst the, you know, the typical wrestler. To be a wrestler, you really had to have the whole package, or you have to have the whole package. I mean, it's not just in the ring. You got to show up to the show, and people need to look at you and be like, "Oh, that guy is a wrestler." You got to live the character completely for people to believe it. I mean, wrestling is a spectacle. It's meant to be a spectacle, and when people stop believing that the wrestlers are a spectacle, they'll stop believing in the product itself. And I really tried to do that. I really tried to live it and take people along on the journey with me. I remember the day that I made the decision to transition from wrestling to acting and comedy. And a lot of people were like, why'd you quit? Why did you quit? I would never say I quit because I always went back to wrestling. I still have a heart for wrestling, and I think people that quit things are because they end up being very bitter about the whatever they're in. Nothing ever bad happened for me to step away from it. Like, I remember it got to a point where I was pulled aside and I was told that there's, you know, people in high up places that are interested in, you know, giving me a tryout possibly in the future. And that kind of like took me to a realization of, wow, you know, this could end up being my life very soon. I felt, you know, fairly confident in myself because I was a character, and the people at the high up company, they want that. They just want somebody that can sell t-shirts, and I felt very confident that I could get a contract. So that day when reality kind of hit me, I was like, oh wow, this is what I want to do now. And at the time, the Wood and Steel stuff was taking off, and I was having a lot of fun with it, and the remember where I said, when I got into wrestling, comedy and acting was at like an equal level. Well, at that time, definitely comedy and acting had risen above in my passion level, I guess you could say. And I felt, I needed to give it, its attention that it deserved. And so I stepped away from wrestling full time, and it was rough. It was really rough leaving a lot of people behind that I gave a crap. I gave a crap about a lot of these people. I really cared so much about all these guys that I spent multiple days a week training with, and then going around the state and performing with. And it was tough because I knew stepping away from it that I wouldn't see some of these guys ever again, or not as much. A lot of them would look at me, differently, and look at me and not understand why I did it. And but what was cool is I did remain good friends with several people. And so in a nutshell, the transition was tough, but I think it could have been a lot harder. And I didn't leave wrestling on a bad note, I would say. Well, around the time when I stepped away from wrestling, I'd started getting interest from this NBC show called It's Your Show, hosted by Carson Daly, which was going to end up being, I think, a Tosh before Tosh actually happened. And they were going to have sketches in like a sketch group, and they were going to feature us on NBC, and they spent several months getting different sketches from us. So that was very promising. That didn't end up happening, but that kind of sparked, really began my passion for acting and comedy, because I was like, I mean, if this is what possibility, like what else could happen? My mind was, I didn't know everything that could pop up in the entertainment business. There's just so much out there. And then soon after that finished, I got involved actually here at SAC Comedy. And once I had began studying in improv here, it really made me grow as a comedian unlike I ever thought I could. I went into it thinking, I know everything, like, I'm a really awesome comedian, I don't need to study. But I know so much more than I ever thought I could. And you never stop learning. Like, I'm still studying. Like, I'll study till the day I die. I won't stop taking classes and working that muscle. I stay away from stand-up. I've done it 2 times, and I don't want to say that I won't ever do it, but right now the support you get from a team of improvisers is just it's comfortable, and I am more comfortable on stage doing improv than anywhere. And then you just meet so many people, and then I've met so many people to start, working with my wood and steel, and that was something too. When I moved out to Los Angeles, I'm like, gosh, I hope I meet people to continue my wood and steel comedy with, and it was a piece of cake once I got involved with an improv community out there. The reason I left Florida to go to California, I always told myself something big happened for me, that financially put me in a position to live a couple months without stressing, that I would just make the jump immediately. And then this past summer, I was blessed with being able to do Rock of Ages, and it completely changed my life. And then it's after I did that, and I left in October. I will say this: being involved with Rock of Ages, it was nerve-wracking, man. I remember being invited to the table read before I even had signed any contracts or anything, and I was going in as one character that I thought I was going to be. And I go into this table read, and I mean, it's myself, Paul Giamatti, Tom Cruise, Russell Brand, Alec Baldwin. They're all right by me, and it was only like 3 or 4 of us, smaller actors. And I had never been that nervous in my whole life. Like, I felt like during the table read, I just completely effed up the whole thing. And when I got done, I remember the casting director coming up to me, and I'm like, I messed it up. I dropped the ball, and she's coming up to tell me that, you did good, and we'll call you if you need you, type of thing. But they actually gave me a bigger named role, and I was so thrown off. But every day being around like Russell Brand, Alec Baldwin, and it was overwhelming, man. It was really surreal. It was almost like a drug. I want to do it, every day now. But it was an amazing learning process too. So I've been involved with so many websites online that promise you this, promise you that, and there's a lot of ways to put yourself out there. But I think Can You Be Famous is really going to do a lot of good for entertainers in general, and I genuinely believe that. I think that it's going to really start taking off soon. I think right now would be a good time for an entertainer to jump on board, and I think it's really going to do a lot of good for people. And so guys, jump on board right now before you get lost in the ocean, if that makes sense. And another great thing about it is it's free to join. You don't have to pay a single dime. And any site that can allow an entertainer to get themselves out there on this thing that's called the internet, which I hear is getting big. Internet's getting it's taken off. The internet's taken off. Okay, I think it's awesome, man. Anything that can, like I said, that can get an actor out there, an entertainer, musician, absolutely anybody out there on a different outlet. I mean, put yourself out there on so many different outlets. There's no reason to settle on just auditioning. If you're not booking anything, create your own work. And I think Can You Be Famous is a great way to start creating your own work, to put yourself out there, along with YouTube. When you're not working, there's no reason not to create your own work, and that's always what I've done.